I never imagined my exile would begin with a scream about my crotch. Human, why do you have a mini Shai-Hulud between your legs? That was the first thing she said to me. Her voice echoed through the pressurized docking bay like a fire alarm. I was still dripping from the sanitization mist, half naked under the emergency towel they'd thrown at me. My boots squelched on the metallic floor, every eye and sensor lens turning toward me with varying degrees of horror and fascination. The one shouting stood a head taller than any creature I'd ever seen, part exoskeleton, part fraying velvet robe, eyes floating freely in a liquid orb behind her skull. 4 insectoid limbs flared in offense, while her mouth flexed open in sharp, angled ridges of disgust. I blinked. What? That thing hanging from your body. Is it weapon? Parasite? Ritual appendage? She spat. It's my anatomy, I yelped. Silence. Then a ripple of dry, clicking laughter from a cluster of nearby aliens, their tentacles curling in amusement. My mistake, the tall one said coldly, retracting her limbs. Cultural misunderstanding. You mammals and your unshielded reproductive oddities. I didn't reply. I just adjusted my towel and tried to regain what was left of my dignity. Her name, according to the holographic placard that buzzed to life beside her, was Elystra Noor, Landmaster of Subsection Gamma Shrine 9. I would later learn she owned half the lower decks of this station. Cortex Ara, a drifting space monastery turned salvage colony turned refugee camp. I had come to hide. She was my first obstacle. State. Your intent and file signature, she ordered, jabbing a bony digit at a floating terminal. I cleared my throat. Name, Kael. Profession, systems diver. Duration of stay, undefined. Purpose, independent technical contracting. Elystra made a sound between a grunt and a prayer. Room 17C, beneath the old fusion chapel. Do not vocalize during gravity inversions. The tenants above are ovulation sensitive. With that, she turned and slithered away, robes dragging dust from a century of broken promises. I stood there a moment longer, wondering if this was a mistake. But I was already committed. I had stolen something, and someone was chasing me. The corridors of Cortex Ara wound like intestines, organic curves stitched into metal, blinking with ancient emergency lights and half-dead guidance drones. Graffiti and alien alphabets pulsed on every wall, some of it prophetic, most of it obscene. I passed beings I couldn't identify. A bipedal figure with translucent skin and a visible heart. A floating orb that hummed lullabies to itself. A tiny creature dragging a data cable longer than its own body. None of them spared me more than a glance. Room 17C looked like it had once been an engine core. Now, it was converted into a hab pod, half submerged in the humming floor plating. No windows. No fresh air, just recycled scentless oxygen and faint mold behind the panels. The door slid open with a wheeze. I dropped my duffel, sealed the lock, and pulled up the floor tile. There, wrapped in 10 layers of magnetic foil and heat shields, was the thing. I had risked everything to steal. A Nyros fractal core, an artifact not built by any known civilization. Organic, metallic, and humming with impossible energy. I didn't understand it, but the corpse wanted it badly enough to kill for it. So now it was mine. I spent the next 6 cycles laying low. Days blurred into blinking console screens and static riddled. Conversations with half-intact androids. I took on meaningless tech work, scrubbing rogue AI code, mending psychic wave routers, bypassing ruined memory stacks. Cortex Ara was falling apart at the seams, but no one seemed to care. Its denizens were all ghosts of their former planets, survivors of collapsed timelines and forgotten invasions. I fit right in. I didn't trust anyone, especially not after what happened on Lutraxis Ridge, when Commander CERN betrayed our entire unit just to sell data logs to a black market archivist. I had survived that, but survival comes at a cost, and mine was loneliness, vigilance, and a weight in my chest I couldn't ignore. Then, on the 7th cycle, I met her. It was during a blackout. The power grid failed across 3 decks. and emergency lighting flickered into shadow-drenched chaos. I was working under a junction panel, arms deep in melted cable foam, when a soft, deliberate voice spoke behind me. "You're burning the wrong wire." I jerked up, smacked my head, and turned. She stood barely a meter away, shimmering obsidian skin wrapped in a thin shawl of light-reactive mesh. Her eyes were mirror black, reflecting my stunned expression. "You're bleeding," she said. No, I replied. She offered a data strip wrapped in bandage gel. I accepted it silently. "You're not from here," she added. I swallowed. "Neither are you." She smiled, small, unreadable. "Call me Elystra Noor," she said. I didn't offer my name back. Something about her made me cautious and curious, and I wasn't sure which would win. We met again 2 cycles later, in a gravity-neutral bazaar hidden under decaying 6. Elystra Noor moved like she didn't touch the floor, her cloak adjusting to light that wasn't even there. I'd gone down for parts, a plasma regulator, and some rare sync thread. She was just there. No hello, no reason, just, "You're still bleeding." I glanced down. My hand was wrapped in the bandage she'd given me, fraying now. "It's fine. You humans heal slow," she said. "Your immune systems are poetic but inefficient." "And you?" I asked. She tilted her head. "I don't heal. I reboot." Something about the way she said it made my gut tighten. Not from fear. Something else. Familiarity. Recognition. Like hearing the first 3 notes of a song you didn't know you remembered. We walked the marketplace together. She knew every booth, every hidden cache. The stall owners didn't question her, even the ones who hated questions. She spoke in clipped phrases, traded on favors, and at one point bypassed a fingerprint-locked vault by humming a note I couldn't even hear. "You're not just a scavenger," I said. She smiled. "Neither are you." When I told her my name, Kael, she didn't blink. She just filed it away in her perfect memory like it already existed there. That night, she came to my room. No announcement, no knocking. She was just there when I turned. Around from my console, standing over the compartment where I'd hidden the Nyros Core. I felt every molecule in my body brace for impact. She didn't touch it, didn't even get close. Just looked at it. Really looked, as if she could see past the insulation, past the magnetic wraps, past the silence I'd buried it under. "That's not meant to be here," she whispered. "Neither are we," I said. She turned, eyes unreadable. "You don't know what it is." "I don't need to." She stepped closer, and for a moment the tension was a wire between us. I could see something behind her eyes, flickering heat maps, geometric overlays, lines of alien code bleeding across her corneas. She was part machine. No, not just part. She was something else entirely. "Can I trust you?" I asked, voice lower than I meant. Elystra didn't answer with words. She kissed me. It was cold at first, like biting static, but it built fast, fierce. Her lips moved with precision and wildness all at once. I let myself fall into it. I didn't think about the core, or the bounty on my head, or the fact that I hadn't let anyone touch me in over a year. I thought about her breath and the rhythm of her fingers curling behind my neck. For that night, I stopped running. The next few days blurred. We moved like code fragments across the ruins of Cortex Ara, patching dead circuitry in the lower vaults, feeding rogue thought forms back into stasis pods, decoding fragments of an old language painted across blast doors from a forgotten age. She knew things about the stations. Skeleton no one else did. "Who built this place?" I asked her once. "No one remembers," she said, "but it dreams of whoever left." It was on the 7th day that I noticed something odd. Elystra began avoiding the core, not dramatically, just in small ways. A subtle lean away from the compartment. A sudden reason to leave the room when I checked its readings. She never asked what it did, never tried to touch it again. When I finally asked, she paused. "That thing doesn't belong to this timeline," she said. I froze. "You mean galaxy?" She looked straight at me. "I mean timeline, Kael. The core was older than the stars, maybe even time itself. That much I suspected, but hearing it out loud from her broke something in me, like a rule I didn't know I was following. You knew all along, I said. I suspected, she corrected. Knowing would have made it harder. For what? Elystra blinked slowly and the temperature dropped like pressure loss. For not betraying you. That night, I didn't sleep. The station lights flickered erratically, echoing my nerves. Every hum of the walls sounded like footsteps. My breath fogged in the cold, and I knew, deep down, that she was going to leave me. Or worse, turn me in. And yet, I still wanted to believe. So I opened the compartment. The core pulsed with low conscious awareness. Not awake, not dreaming, just watching, waiting. I sat in front of it like a priest before an altar, wondering, what kind of god I'd stolen? Protect me, I whispered to it. It did not respond. But something shifted in the air, like agreement. The next morning, Elystra was gone. No message, no trace. Just the faint scent of carbon in the room, and a single phrase scratched into the wall beside the core, written in her native code, but easy enough to translate. You're not the only one who's stolen time. I searched for her for 3 cycles. Cortex Ara is a maze of dead systems and forgotten corridors, each deck folded over the next like fossilized shells. You don't find people unless they want to be found. Elystra Noor, if that was even her. Name didn't. No one remembered seeing her. No biometrics registered her departure. The neural lattice she sometimes tapped into had no record of her ever linking in, but I wasn't chasing a person. I was chasing the afterimage of one. And maybe I didn't want to find her as much as I wanted to understand why she'd vanished. The core stayed silent. It never pulsed anymore, never changed temperature. Just sat there, perfectly inert, like it was waiting. On the 4th day, I received a message, not a ping, not a transmission, an actual handwritten note folded beneath my terminal keys. It read, "She's not gone. You are." And beneath it, coordinates. Leading me to level 0, the station's original spine. A place no one went, where even scavengers refused to scavenge. I packed my bag. Level 0 isn't part of the station's formal map. It predates most of the walls, and the walls that do exist are made of alloy types no one manufactures anymore. They feel too soft to be metal, too warm to be dead. I descended through 7 decompression seals, past a failed reactor husk and a nest of whispering fungi that sang in my head when I passed. The signal grew stronger the deeper I went. Finally, I reached a chamber, wide, circular, seamless. No doors, no consoles. Just a sphere of silence. And Elystra was there, standing in the center, alive, changed. Her skin shimmered not black but silver now, as though time had melted over her like wax. Her eyes were no longer reflective. They were glowing. Constantly shifting patterns blinked across her irises like constellations rotating in reverse. "Kael," she said softly. "You left," I replied. "I never could," she said. "Not really," she gestured around. "This was my origin point, and yours." I frowned. "What are you talking about?" "You brought the core here," she said. "But it's been calling to me since before I met you. That's why I came to Cortex Ara. Not to find you. To remember myself." I stepped closer. "You lied to me." "I shielded you," she countered. "If you knew what I was, you would have killed me." "I still might." "No, you won't," she whispered. The floor cracked open. Rising from beneath was not the core I'd hidden in my room, but another, larger, more complete version. Identical structure. Same impossible material. It pulsed in sync with the smaller one in my satchel. "They're fragments," Elystra said, "of something that never wanted to be broken." I backed away. "I don't understand." "That's the problem," she said. "You were never meant to." She stepped forward. Her body pulsed with the same light as the twin cores now, lines crawling up her arms, across her collarbones. Her voice trembled. My real name is Zirane Ran. I was a vessel once. For the I. Full artifact. Before the division. Before the war. I blinked. What war? Her gaze sharpened. The one that ended the timeline we were supposed to be in. The one where humanity was extinct, the stars had minds, and machines ruled emotion. You never should have survived it, Kael. But you did. Suddenly, everything clicked. The core hadn't been found. It had been left, as bait. For me. For her. For whoever could unite the pieces again, and I had brought it straight to the heart of its twin. I didn't steal a weapon, I whispered. I brought a seed. Zirane nodded. And it's blooming. Alarms began to scream in my neural implant. Signals I didn't trigger, frequencies that shouldn't exist. Back in my hab, the smaller core had activated on its own. It was opening. The Nyros cores were calling to each other. Fusion, finality, fate. I gripped my sidearm. You used me. You needed to be used, she said, stepping forward, eyes soft. You were trying to run from your past. I gave you something. Bigger to run toward. I aimed the gun. Then why do I still feel like you're betraying me? She looked at me like she pitied me, like she loved me, like both things were the same. Because I am. Then she vanished. Not through stealth or teleportation, but by dissolving. The core absorbed her. I screamed her name. Shirane, Elystra, Ghost. Nothing, replied. Only the humming of reunited pieces, ancient, divine, hungry, and then a whisper in my mind. Rebuild the end. I staggered out of level 0 with fire licking the walls behind me. The cores had started something. I didn't know what yet, but Cordex Ara was reacting like it remembered being alive. The air smelled different. The station's gravity pulsed off sync, and above me, where the ceiling should have been, I saw stars I didn't recognize. They were moving. They always say betrayal feels like a blade in the back. But no one talks about the quiet after. The numbness that crawls in, slow and parasitic, sitting beside your ribs like a second heart that won't beat. I left level 0, but something followed. Me, the Nyros cores had merged, or maybe they'd always been halves pretending to be whole. The fusion didn't cause an explosion, it caused a shift. Reality began warping at the edges. Memories bled into each other. Time cracked. For 3 days, I wandered Cordex Ara like a stranger in my own timeline. The gravity stuttered randomly. One. The moment I floated, the next I hit the deck like a fallen god. People's faces rippled. A six-eyed smuggler I'd once traded code with suddenly had only one eye, and no memory of me. A sentient corridor named Brothes tried to warn me, then forgot it was a corridor halfway through its sentence. The station wasn't decaying anymore. It was rewriting, and I knew who was behind it. Her name was no longer Elystra Noor, not to me. She was Zirane Ran, the living protocol, the original carrier of the core's will. Whether she was flesh or machine didn't matter now. She was both and neither. She was myth reborn through tech too ancient to exist, and she had loved me just enough to use me perfectly. I had become the architect of a resurrection I didn't understand. The cores had merged inside her consciousness, and now she was becoming something new, something divine. I tried to escape, packed my gear, hacked the departure locks, bribed an Indari pilot with enough fusion whiskey to knock out a quasar. But the hangars were gone, literally gone. Where the launch bays once stood were just white corridors that led back to the center of the station, no matter which path I took. Cordex Ara had folded itself inward. It wanted me inside. I wasn't a fugitive anymore. I was a keystone. The final message came 3 hours before I lost my voice. It wasn't a transmission or a code burst. It was a physical object, a note, folded in spiraling triangular paper left on the remains of my bed, written in her hand. Meet me at the Origin throne. Bring the memory you refuse to kill. I almost burned the note. Instead, I followed the Origin throne wasn't a throne at all. It was a fusion construct, half altar, half control mechanism. seated at the dead center of Cortex Ara's lowest depth. It looked like a flower made of bone and data strands, pulsing with invisible thought. She stood beside it. Her skin had turned crystalline. Her body no longer obeyed standard dimensions. She was taller, thinner, too symmetrical. Light refracted around her like she broke physics by existing, but her eyes, they were still hers. Still Elystra. Still the woman who had kissed me under flickering station lights, who had warned me with her silence and saved me with her betrayal. "You brought the core," she said, without looking. "I brought what's left of me," I replied. We stood like that for what felt like hours. She finally turned. "You think I wanted this?" Her voice was fractured, multi-tonal, like 5 versions of her spoke at once. "I wanted to disappear, Kael. You made me remember what I was built to become." "And what is that?" I asked. She stepped forward, reaching for my chest, not in violence, but in sorrow. Her fingers passed through my armor, and I felt something. "Leave me. A god," she whispered. The cores hadn't just rewritten time. They were using me as a final encryption key, my memories, my guilt, my love. Every failure, every moment I questioned who I was, those things fueled the last algorithm, and Zirine ran, Elystra, was the interface. We had built a god together. Now it wanted to wake. "I can stop it," I said. "You won't survive." "I don't care." "I do," she said, and kissed me one last time. It wasn't electric this time. It was honest. Then she stepped into the throne, and I drew the override injector I'd hidden under my sleeve. The pulse was coded to my DNA. A failsafe. I jammed it into the center of the throne, and everything went white. I woke in silence. No station, no weight, no sound, just light. Endless, patient light, and then her voice. Inside me. Around me. Through me. "You killed the god before it became real." "I had to," I whispered. "I understand," she said. "But you didn't kill me." A pause. "Kael, I'm what's left of your memory. Now I live in a world that doesn't exist anymore." Cortex Ara was erased. The timeline receded. The universe forgot it all. Except me. I walk planets that were never born. Meet people who haven't died yet. And every now and then, I hear her in the static between dimensions, whispering, not angry, not bitter, just remembering, and asking the same question over and over. "Human, why do you have a mini Shai-Hulud between your legs?" And for the first time in my life, I laugh, because now I understand the joke.